have that first communion. Okay, we can change that. Said, what else? I said, I didn't actually say any of those things. He goes, yeah, I know. That's what I do. I take your words and I change them. I make it sound like you. And then he bragged that he wrote Willie Mays' autobiography after speaking to him for only 30 minutes. And I had the weirdest feeling coming from a pro wrestler. I was like, dude, that's kind of fake. Am I right? Like you, young man, if you were to hand in a paper at school, right, and put your name on it when someone else had clearly gone to work, how would your teacher react? They'd be pretty angry, right? And rightfully so. Well, when you're a child and you cheat and you take the credit for someone else's work, you get an F and get in trouble. When you're an adult and do it, they call you a best-selling author. That's not right. But nonetheless, the idea of writing it myself didn't occur to me until I was backstage working with the author, and I was like, okay, let's try to clear up some of these things, like where I say, when I was 12, I wanted to be like the Fonz. And he goes, okay, what should I do? I said, well, we need to explain who the Fonz was. And he said, well, who was he? I thought, that's a problem right there. I said, why don't we try this? Why don't we try writing? When I was 12, I wanted to be like Arthur Fonzarelli, the Fonz on TV's Happy Days. No doubt about it, the Fonz was the man. He could fix a broken jukebox with a slap of his palm and chicks while the Fonz had them lined up out the door. You know, so, and then we could write, one of the pleasures of my life is watching my own children watching the Fonz on Nick at Night, thinking he's every bit as cool as I did. And he goes, okay, and he's writing that down. He goes, that sounds good, that sounds good. And I said, at the end, then start a new sentence and write, hey, with like 5 Y's. He goes, I can't do that. And I said, why not? He said, it's not a complete sentence. I saw Edge and Christian in the back, and I said, Edge, Christian, what did the Fonz used to say? And they went, hey! And he was, all right, I'll do it. But I don't agree with it. And then I suggested to him that we start off the book with a hook, a way to grab readers' attention. And I don't want to alarm any of the kids or any of the parents here, but I had a unique ear injury incident in Germany in 1994. I won't go into details, but let's just say I arrived in Germany with a right ear, left without one, and I thought it would be a unique way to get people to describe that injury. And he described it as such, like, I got caught in the ropes, and the next thing I knew, I was on the floor, and I was hurt. And I was like, I just thought to myself, he doesn't know. Like, he will never know. He will never be able to express to people what it felt to be in those ropes, and literally think that your life might be coming to an end. And I liken it to a fox that chews off its paw to escape a trap. Sorry to go ugly on you guys. But I was like, I need to get out of here. So when I squeezed out, I got out, my ear stayed. And so I wrote that down, and I was sitting in the top level of the Tallahassee Civic Center. I got there about 3 hours early for the matches, and I just was writing. When I say writing, I'm going like this, it's because I was writing. Like I didn't use a computer, I used legal pads, you know, and I was writing, and I wrote for 3 hours. And when I got to the dressing room, I asked if any of the guys wanted to hear what I had written. And like, who would want, that doesn't sound very entertaining, right? So like 2 guys said, sure. But when I started reading, they started reacting. You know, they started laughing where I thought things would be funny. They started wincing a little bit where I thought things might be a little grisly, you know. And I realized that in a sense, I felt like I was in a wrestling ring without being hurt. And I thought, I could get used to this. And so I found that telling stories on a written page was not that much different than telling them in the ring, just using words instead of actions and all the other things we do to bring our stories to life in the ring. And when I finished that book, I made the call that I told the publisher, Judith Regan, who was a very esteemed woman in publishing, that I was having trouble with my writer, and she said, that's okay, we'll just get you a new one. I said, actually, I was thinking of writing this one myself. And I was met by deafening silence. The idea of a wrestler writing his own book was thought to be completely ridiculous. But I told her, I said, what if I give it a try and you see what you think? And so I wrote that chapter about losing my ear in Germany. She liked it, we went with it. I knew nothing about pacing a book. And so instead of writing a 60,000 word book, which is what they wanted, I turned in 200,000 words 49 days later. And after several arguments where the publisher wanted to cut it in half because they didn't think anyone would read a book that long, WWE arguing on my behalf, we put it out, we shocked the literary world, we hit #3 in our first week of publication. The second week we hit #1. So I've still got the list, and what's surprising about that list back in the fall of 1999 is that all of the presidential candidates had their memoirs out. They were all underneath mine. And I'm not picking on any political party here, because they were all equal opportunity offenders, with the exception of New Jersey Senator Bill Bradley. All of the presidential candidates had their books ghostwritten for them, which meant someone else did the work, they took the credit for it. And I could have realized then that we were heading for an economic slowdown. Because when a wrestler does his own work and the President of the United States doesn't, we're all in a whole lot of trouble. But from there, I had the idea that maybe I just woke up one morning with a premonition that I was going to be America's most beloved author of children's Christmas books. I told my publisher that. Again, there was stunned silence, and she said, "Have you ever written a children's story?" I said, "No." And she said, "But you think I can?" I said, "Yes." And then I signed a contract, and then wrote nothing for 4 months. I couldn't think of a single thing. And then one day on a flight from New York to San Antonio, I thought about this young boy I had met. He was on a long line in New England. It was at a department store, free autographs. And in 1999, I was so popular that if the autographs were free, there would be a considerable line. We charged, the line would be considerably shorter. But it was a long line, and off in the distance I saw this little boy who had the telltale signs of having been seriously burned. And I called him up to the front, and I talked to him for a couple minutes, and his mom told me that what had happened to him is he had been at his grandfather's house, and he had accidentally pulled a crock pot of boiling oil over, and it landed on his head, and disfigured him quite a bit. And even though he'd had dozens of surgeries, he still had those telltale signs, but he had the coolest smile and the nicest way about him. And after I talked to him for a couple of minutes, because there's really not a lot of time, as you will see in our meet and greet, where we unfortunately have to move pretty quickly, there's really not a lot of time to get to know people. But as the little boy was walking away, I kind of felt my conscience calling out to me, and I said, hey, came back. I should mention that his mother said they couldn't get him to wear the mask, which was a healing mask, until she pointed out to him that his favorite wrestler, Mankind, wore a mask. And so I felt like I'd done something positive in that healing process. And I called the boy back, and I asked his mom if it would be okay if he sat on my lap for the rest of the signing. And after a while, and when he had to leave, the boy got up and laughed, and people had tears in their eyes, and it was standing ovation. They were standing anyway, but it was an ovation. And I had this feeling, like this strange feeling. I realized that I felt like Santa Claus. And so, on that trip, Antonio became the boy who put the spirit of Christmas into a broken-hearted Santa Claus. That became Christmas Chaos. And then I wanted to read just a little bit to you from this last book. I know we're doing okay on time, right? Okay, we'll go to questions right after this. All right. 2 things you need to know. Resco Lane is a place where the WWE superstars and Al Snow reside. And in my book, The Miz was the awful bully in class. who picks on the strange new kid, CM Punk, because Punk doesn't want any toys for Christmas, based on my own son, who at 3 years old insisted that he didn't need any toys, and he kept pointing around, I have enough, look, these, you can give my toys to someone else needs them, I have enough. And I thought, you know what, that's a really touching thing, but if you said something like that around a guy like Mr. McMahon, he might become really angry with the idea that somebody felt they had enough. And so Mr. McMahon wasn't the heel in this story. The Miz was. Let me just grab a drink of water. And every time you write, you try to learn something. And so when I turn this in, I'll tell you the original ending. It said, the kids did listen closely. My goodness, they were trying. Kofi Kingston heard it first. He said, do I hear someone crying? Zack Ryder was the next to speak, saying, could that be The Miz? Kelly reassured them, it is. Oh, yes, it is. They all listened to the sounds of Miz, and the crying got much louder. Louder, 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 until finally it exploded like a match set to gunpowder. They looked and smiled at CM Punk and could not have been much prouder. The Miz's tears fell like rain that day, and some were heard to say, he may have cried a billion tears on that Christmas day. Punk smiled and said, I'll ask the man in red next year for some stuff, but this Christmas day I'm proud to say you're my friends, and that's enough. Then before he turned away, he said, sometimes lessons learned are tough. And I wrote the end, Mick Foley, I sent it, and with a note that said, are you guys okay with the only vaguely happy ending? He learned it's a pretty rough lesson to learn, right? And they wrote back and said, could you possibly have some redemption for the Miz character? I thought about it, like for hours. And I really, really thought about it. And I sat down, and it's 6 or 8 hours later, and what I came up with, I thought, was some of the most inspired stuff I've ever done in any form, whether it's in the ring or on the page. And it goes like this. Twinkling stars danced off drifts of snow, window panes were frosted. One lone child walked down Resco Lane, his supply of tears exhausted. How dare those other kids have fun, thought Miz. This thought left him annoyed. He saw the silly snowman and thought it had to be destroyed. But something seemed to touch the Miz before he could harm the frosty fellow. He lost the urge to knock it down or to turn it kind of yellow. We all appreciate a good pee joke every now and then. And what we do is we get a little laugh there because now we're going to get to the substantive part, okay? You guys ready to be touched? Ready? Okay, it's going to come out. I should just let it come out of nowhere. I'm warning you, though. The Miz stood still and stared a while until the deep snow stung his feet. The snowman was quite handsome, but seemed somehow incomplete. One thing you need to know is the only thing Miz got for Christmas were chunks of coal. Okay? That's going to come into play here. He danced in place on frozen toes, then finally realized the snowman wasn't finished yet because it had no eyes. The lack of eyes was some surprise, but equally as shocking was knowing what he found at the bottom of his stocking. It was exactly what was needed to make this snowman whole. Mittens plunged into pockets and produced 2 chunks of coal. At the moment that they did so and the coal chunks left his pocket, Miz felt his spirit soaring, taking flight like on a rocket. He pressed those precious chunks of coal into the man made out of snow. If he'd known how good it felt to give, he'd have given long ago. One last tear fell that night. Miz understood the irony. For though the snowman got new eyes, it was the Miz who now could see. That's pretty deep, right? That acting like a bully was not a bit of fun. He'd made the other children sad with the things that he had done. I should have had a page turner up here. Next time, designated page turner, okay? The gift of sight, a magic night, like an old-time Christmas card, until a loud voice yelled, "Excuse me, you're standing on my yard." But Miz was not discouraged, despite the grouchy talk. He wished his teacher Merry Christmas and even shoveled off her walk. But the volume of Miss Guerrero's voice woke the neighbors with a start. Several kids on Ruskell Lane had witnessed Mrs. stunning change of heart. Smiles were shared, waves exchanged, CM Punk nodded in approval. Perched atop the Mrs. roof, a large elf worked on paint removal because what Miz had done is because keep in mind, CM Punk hadn't asked for any toys and the Miz was off the list, so he pretended to be CM Punk and even went so far as to put a huge sign in paint on his roof that said CM Punk lives here, okay? That's pretty tricky, right? Smiles were shared, oh yeah, paint removal. The elf had been a witness to this unlikely scene. He watched kids playing Christmas snow. The scene elf wrote this story down he thought you'd like to know. He found a perfect dude to pen the rhyme, a tale for all mankind. We hope you have enjoyed this tale of Ruskell Lane at Christmas time. The end. And what I will ask is somebody from the library to pick the, because that makes you a bad person. Well, like a cross-section of like children, old school fans. I don't play favorites, but if you're wearing any of my merchandise, that helps. One guy, okay, one guy. Use the chair up here. Do it the chair that I use. Check. It's safe to say, give me a chair here in the library, right? When I did it in the I'm good. When I did it in the ECW arena, it didn't work out so well. Terry Funk said, ask them for a chair. Right? And I'm not exaggerating. I say 1 chair, 2 chairs, 4 chairs, 8 chairs, and suddenly it was raining chairs. Hundreds, no exaggeration, hundreds of chairs. And our opponents, Public Enemy, they weren't our opponents, they ran in and disrupted the match. They were literally buried underneath a sea of chairs. You can Google it sometime. All right, questions. I just want to warn you, just when you think you've got the answers, I changed the questions. Okay? The 2 young men back there, I think dual questions. I think a question from each.
Who are you most? Who are you most? Who are you most comfortable being as?
Which character? Oh, definitely when I was a commissioner. I was Commissioner Foley, and I didn't. Ed and Christian pointed out on the first day when I told them I thought that they were overstretching, overreaching when they asked for their own dressing room. I pointed out I was a 3-time WWE champion, and I never had my own dressing room. And then they pointed out that's because I wrestled in the clothes that I wore. That's an observation. But when I was a commissioner, I really did. I didn't have to change my clothes. I showed up late, I left early, I didn't get hurt, and I thought I had a big influence on the show. So I was most comfortable as the commissioner. I was least comfortable in my beginning days as Mankind because the mask was just awful. It constricted my breathing. And if you think it gets better, it doesn't, because no one, in all their wisdom at WWE, and there's some very wise people there, nobody thought to sit down and go, what does a piece of rawhide leather smell like after it's been perspired in for 3 years? I was like Clarice Starling before an autopsy. Smearing makeover underneath my nose. Okay, good question. And then the young man next to you, he gives a follow-up.
Where's Mr. Sacco?
Where's Mr. Sacco? There he is. Good question. All right. Let's see. A Santa shirt. What does it say?
It says, I don't wear red all the time. It's for Kentucky Wildcats. It's a Santa Claus shirt.
That worked.
Just for you.
That's good, man.
First of all, thank you for everything you've done in the business and as a person, just outside of wrestling. Some of the stuff you've done with autism and things like that, I'm just, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm a fan. Okay, my question is this. I do subscribe to WWE Network, $9.99.
Yeah.
And I see your show that's coming on with your daughter.
Yes.
There has been a clip of her telling you she wants to get into wrestling.
Yeah.
So what was your legitimate first response to that?
I thought, like, you know, it's great if a child wants to follow in their parents' footsteps. But I've got some awfully crooked footsteps, you know. Just the way I walked would be a deterrent. But she really wanted to try it. And if you're, how many parents out there? And most parents have young children at this point. As you get older, the best way to ensure your children won't listen to you is to try to force them to do anything. So they have to do. I wish there was just a text. And there's a lot of books of being a parent, but I wish there was a singular textbook that told you every right and wrong move. So you don't know. And I discouraged her, and she really wants to try. So you will see her trying. And it's a fun show. It really is. WWE is really excited about it. I will miss the days when I used to be able to blame everything on not being promoted well enough, because this show has really been well promoted, and the company really is very high on it. And I think people will really enjoy it, and they're hoping that people who are not wrestling fans will actually tune in. We had a great experience. We loved shooting it. The crew thought it was the smoothest shoot they'd ever been on. You know, it was really a great experience. So I just hope people watch it. And speaking of shirts, just in case anybody saw a couple of things that I tweeted out from Chicago. By the way, Chicago to Erlanger is a miserable drive. There's so much construction, and not fun in the least. It only looks like I'm wearing the same Becky Lynch shirt that I wore yesterday. This is in fact an exact replica. Okay. All right, next question.
How do you prepare for a bump like you did with these Undertaker? All this out.
How do you prepare for them?
Yeah.
Breathe. Don't breathe.
I don't want to give you a good answer that makes you think like you should prepare yourself for it. Man, I have to tell you, I was, you know how you can write a letter to Santa Claus or say Santa Claus, North Pole will get to him? If during like a 15-year period you had just addressed a letter to Cactus Jack or Mick Foley at the Zone, it would have gotten to me. Because that's where I lived for a very long time. I was in the Zone. And I prepared for it mentally, you know, by trying to see every step of that. I was a big believer in visualizations. You know, there was a guy who did a talk on basketball cybernetics. When I was like 8 years old, Stanley Kellner, Coach Kellner, had this 5-point plan. I think it was 5 points. 4 points maybe. See the picture, think the picture, be the picture, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And then he would have a guy who would come out and he'd say, okay, what is your goal? And he'd say, I want to jump higher. And the guy would jump as high. It wasn't a trick either. The guy would jump as high as he could, and he would come 4 or 5 inches away from the rim. And after Coach Kellner talked to the guy for 10 minutes or so, he would jump again and he'd be able to touch the rim. Like, I saw it over and over. You know, there's the idea that sometimes we're capable of doing things that we didn't think were possible. And so I made a pretty good living doing things that people didn't think were possible. But one thing I never saw in that picture that I thought and became was that the cage would break on the choke slam. You never saw that one coming. So there was no way to prepare for that. You know, I was prepared to go off the cell, wasn't prepared to go through it and have a chair that I had the foresight and wisdom to bring up on top of the cell with me, come crashing down and hit me in the teeth along the way. So at that point, we just tried to pick up the pieces and, you know, finish the match as best as we could. But I just did a lot of visualization, and if I didn't think I could do things, I didn't do them, which is why you will never, under any circumstances, you can go through the entire library, the entire WWE library on the network, you will not see me throw a drop kick. So I knew I couldn't do it. But you will see me attempt some, you know, what might seem on the surface to be some pretty stupid things, because I was pretty sure I could pull them off.
Yeah, hi Mick. I was wondering who are your 3 favorite opponents and why?
Okay. So we have to go with Triple H first because he runs the company. When guys talk about making money with somebody, that's, you know, that was like always the gauge on how well a program went. There's no question, honestly, I'd made the most money wrestling Triple H, so he was definitely one of my favorites. And then I have to say Undertaker, because he really put me on the map there in WWE. And either Austin or The Rock, because the Rock matches led to the great chemistry that created the tag team, Rock and Sock connection. And when you were out in the ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin, I think, you have to put Austin there, because there was a parameter for what you expected from a match. You know, the lack of reaction, you know, on one low end ranging to like a phenomenal reaction. And working with Steve allowed you to get reactions that were beyond your wildest expectations. That everything you did out there with him resulted in such a phenomenal response. It was like such a treat to be out there with him until he began his comeback and began punching him. Then it didn't feel like such a treat. But every other part of that experience was unbelievable, Steve. All right, go back to a child there, the guy with the WrestleMania shirt. You. Yeah. Yes.
How did that feel like?
He wants to know how. He saw videos of me ripping my hair out. Any parents want to leave now? I did. I mean, it was legit hair. And the secret was, I would go out of my way not to condition, and I wouldn't pull from the roots. I would pull from the ends. And so I was really pulling a bunch of frizzy, dry ends. And I would pull it so quickly that then I'd throw them up. And because of the lights, it had this drifting motion. And it was a dramatic effect that didn't really bother me at all. It didn't hurt at all. Once I got to a certain point where all the dry ends were gone, the trick was done. You know, I couldn't do it. So even if I tried to do it in front of you guys now, it wouldn't work, because obviously this is a well-conditioned All right, let me see. I've got a young man there with his hand up, black shirt, blonde hair.
When you wrestle, why do you need so many? When you wrestle, why do you need so many names?
Well, this is going to, I was Cactus Jack, right? And I didn't think there needed to be a name change. And when I met Mr. McMahon, he had this mask that he wanted me to wear. And he wanted to call me Mason the Mutilator. And I said, well, that's a good idea. You learn the art of negotiation when you're with the guy, Mr. McMahon. I said, I like it a lot. But what if we called me Mankind? Mankind the Mutilator. I'm not sure I understand. I said, that way we could have a double meaning. I could talk about the future of mankind, the destruction of mankind. And up until I entered the ring, for my first match, I thought I was Mason the Mutilator. And even my WrestleMania booking packet, when I got to WrestleMania, because I was due to begin the day after WrestleMania ended, it said Mutilator on it. And then I came out to the ring, and Howard Finkel said, coming down to the ring, Mankind. And I wasn't the Mutilator. But this is where I found out. Only last summer in Galveston, Texas, Bruce Pritchard told me that Mr. McMahon had not wanted Cactus Jack in the promotion at all, ever, because he didn't think, and this is a bombshell I'm going to drop on all of you, he didn't think I looked like a star. And then finally, at a booking meeting, I'm going to alter the language just slightly for the children in attendance. He slammed down his fist on the table and said, all right, darn it. I'll bring him in, but I'm covering up his face. So there was the secret of the Mankind mask. And then Mr. McMahon, to his credit, found out that I had actually wanted to be a wrestler named Duke Love when I was in my teens, when I was 18 and 19 years old. He decided to make that a reality. And then he brought Cactus Jack back. And so for a short time, I was wrestling as all three guys, and in one match, all three simultaneously. And when my son was about your age, and he couldn't figure out how someone like me had ever been one of those guys that he saw on TV, he didn't believe that I was like a legendary figure. And he goes, Dad, were you ever in the Royal Rumble? I said, was I ever in it? He said, 3 times in one night as 3 different characters. And he looked at me and said, and you still couldn't win? What do you think, 2 more questions? Anyone? Oh, we got 10 minutes, right? Okay. Oh, the young lady here with the tie-dye. How did you know that my tooth got knocked out and ended up in my nose? Oh, man.
That's a proud moment.
I was, you know what, I watched the match back, right? And I was really self-conscious. And I was temporarily knocked out during that match. And it's a good thing that I was knocked out, because if I had known that one of my front teeth was lodged in my nose on live national television, I would have been so embarrassed. I have a certain style I like to, you know what? It's a problem. And to this day, you know, I need some major surgery. You want to see a magic trick? See a smile? So you might ask, well, why do you bother putting the front one in, the bottom one in, not the top? And again, my son, who said that, you know, questioned why I couldn't win the Rumble, when I entered 3 times, made the observations, Dad, you used to look kind of cool with just your top teeth missing. Now you look like a crack addict. I think you're thinking of a methamphetamine addict. So I got the flipper. But yeah, it was a tough injury. It was a tough one. What are you doing? Why are you watching a match like that? Where are your parents?
Proud mom.
It's on the network.
Well, yeah, but shield her eyes. Like, when the bad parts of a movie come up, we close our kids' eyes. Yeah. So just close her eyes for like 17 straight minutes during that. All right, let me see. All right, there we go. We have go ahead, the young lady with the HBK shirt.
With embarrassing song on your iPod, or
Most embarrassing song on my iPod. Well, I just learned how to download music onto my iPod a few months ago. So I don't think any of the songs personally are embarrassing. Some people may look at Starry, Starry Night by Don McLean and question it, but I think that's a beautiful song, right? And introduces people to the arts, right? I don't know, I don't have it with me. Why? Do you have one?
No.
On yours?
Wondering. I saw my song right.
One of the strangest things I ever saw was that I was at the post office and somebody came rolling up, didn't even know that I was there, pulling up, and he had his windows down, and he was blasting the Dude Love theme song and singing along to it. And then I was like, dude, him. Well, I don't think there's any embarrassing songs on there. I think I have good taste in music. Other people disagree. They don't. I just flat out don't like to drive with music. I insist on listening to Christmas music on a year-round basis. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's go to the back. Yeah.
Mick, can you share your favorite memory from wrestling at the Sportatorium in Texas?
Yeah, I had a lot of great memories wrestling in the Sportatorium. I'll tell you, this was a post-match experience when, believe it or not, I won the light heavyweight championship from Eric Embry. It's not as ridiculous as it might seem, because the weight limit was 235, I think I was 242 at the time. And there was an old-time guy there named Phil Hickerson, an old Southern wrestler, and he used to always get in my case about Jack and they smartened you up yet, because he would see these wild bumps that I took and didn't think that I was going to last very long in the business. And so when I won the championship belt, I was actually wearing it out in the parking lot, and there was a big guard there, and his name was Mike. He's a big African American guy, and some idiot who had a little bit too much drink, with his son by his side, picked the wrong guy to use the N-word with. And we've heard about people getting their butts kicked, right? And it's usually a figurative interpretation. This guy literally got his butt kicked. That was all Mike did. He just continued to kick him in the butt. And I felt like the guy had it coming, but no kid should ever see his dad getting beaten up. But I hope his dad went home and explained to his son, son, your dad got his butt kicked because he's an overt racist. And he just... But when the fight was being broken up, there was a big melee outside, and Phil Hickerson looked out the window of the sportatorium and saw me in the parking lot wearing my championship belt and didn't let me forget about it for the rest of my time in world class, which was like 7 or 8 months. But I had wonderful memories there. I loved it. I actually had a tear in my eye when I left that building. Really enjoyed my time there. I grew a lot as a wrestler. I had a lot of freedom to do things. I had a great selection of opponents from Kerry Von Erich to Gentleman Chris Adams to Brickhouse Brown to Matt Bourne to Jimmy Jack Funk to Jeff Jarrett, and we were really allowed to create and yeah, loved that area. So it was a great time for me. All right. Who should we go with? One of the young ones up here? All right, one more. Okay, so whoever asks the question has the pressure of knowing it has to be the best question. You're pretty sure that it's the best question? Okay, I like your confidence.
Which job did you like better, wrestling or writing?
Ooh, okay. Now the correct answer here, with all the parents in attendance, would say writing. Wrestling was my dream, okay? But wrestling opened the door for me to do other things, made other things possible that I hadn't dreamt of. And I was a good writer when I was in school. I remember being in college and getting a note on a paper that says you should really think about writing as a career. And I laughed it off at the time because I wanted to be a wrestler. And in some ways, I've come to believe that the only reason I wrestled for 15 years before my comeback, my first comeback, was that I would have amusing anecdotes to talk about, to write about, so that I have a rich supply of life stories. And I'm going to start writing another book soon. It won't be a wrestling-related book. It'll be a memoir about my time as an ambassador for a guy dressed in red. You know what I mean? Okay? Not likely to be a bestseller, but it's something I really, really want to write. So I would say wrestling is definitely my dream, but one of the hardest things people have, adjustments people make, is living life after the dream has come true. And it's a really difficult adjustment. And I think for wrestlers, the biggest trick is to try to find something out there that makes them feel the way they did when they were in the ring. So I'm lucky that I have a few things that I can do, and the first one of them was writing, because I realized that once I started writing, and I could get into that mood, and I actually, my body moves around when I write, and if I write for different characters, I lean different ways, and I do dialogue, and it kind of brings those characters to life for me the same way that playing characters in wrestling. But, there's one young lady with blonde hair, and she's got her hand up so high. Would you like to ask the final question? Because I don't really want to end my last question with what is pretty much a lie by trying to say that writing was as fun as wrestling. It's not a good message to send to the kids.
Okay, this is a really weird question, but do you play Pokemon Go?
I'm sorry. No. I don't play any games. I play board games. That's it. Yeah, I've caved into technology with this phone and email, and that's as far as we're going. I'm not gaming. The only time I play games is when playing a wrestling game with my kids, and they are me. And then all I do is press the button that leads the guy forward as slowly as he can go, so that no matter who my kids are wrestling, I win. That's what I do. Listen, you guys have been great. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming out. Signing is to be, to move the line along, but we don't want to rush people, but we definitely have to move. So if you're with a group, like a family, please take a family photo, right? And I'll sign. I think it's one item per person. We do have some 8x10s for sale. No obligation to buy anything. They're over by the garden. You can buy an 8x10, and then you tell them anything else you think is perfect. And where will they be sitting for the sign? I'll down in the front. So thank you very much for being here.
We're going to be calling people back in about groups of 20.